Welcome to Success Saudi, a podcast featuring leaders and entrepreneurs in KSA. Our aim is to provide you with local tips and wisdom to help you on your own success journey. My name is Maria Kmeti, and I'm here today with Zohaib Ahmad. Zohaib is the founder and CEO of Navigate Saudi, a firm that helps companies start up and stay compliant in KSA. Zohaib, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
My first question for you is, you launched your first e-learning startup in Saudi Arabia in 2023, and you were part of the first Misk Launchpad cohort?
That's correct.
So I'm curious, at what point in your journey starting your own company did you realize that you wanted to create another company specifically to help other startups?
So I remember it was mid of 2023. One of my friends reached out from the US, and she said that there's a big company coming to Saudi Arabia, but they're stuck with their visa license. Could you please just check what's happening? I'm like, okay, sure. Big company. I'm like, okay, let me.
I've done that.
Yeah, I've done that. Let me look into that. And I logged into their systems, and it was so happening that they had made multiple transactions from the US to pay the MISA license fees, but I think some Forex differences, something, it wasn't reflecting onto the system. So I just paid it from my local Sadat bank account, and within a few hours got them the license, sent her the license, and I'm like, okay, this is my bank account, right? Details. That's it. Slept through the night, and then next morning she calls me like, you know what? This is a company that's when I realized how big the company is. So it was the first batch of semiconductor company coming in from the Silicon Valley, being brought in by the Ministry of IT and the National Semiconductor Hub of Saudi Arabia at that time.
Wow.
And I was like, that was the light bulb moment, that if such big enterprises are facing, the basic challenges.
And needed you.
Navigate Saudi. Right? So that's when we officially, set up a separate entity for Navigate Saudi to really, the focus was very simple, right? So we want to help enterprise leaders or, founders to expand into the kingdom with clarity, with the right compliance in mind. And so we just help them, in saving time and prevent them from getting costly penalties. That's our goal.
So what are the biggest misconceptions that foreign enterprises or foreign entrepreneurs have about starting up in Saudi, and what's actually true?
So the biggest misconception that most enterprises or founders have is that once you have the MISA license, you're set, good to go. But MISA is just your entry ticket. There's so much after that you need to take care of, from the right activity selection, from the right licensing that you get, from hiring the right, Saudi talent to meet the minimum requirements of having Saudis in your company, right? So there's so much more that even before you launch that you need to plan out, and that's where a lot of founders misunderstand that how long it would take to really be operational, right?
Okay.
So this is one of the first misconceptions. The second misconception is they feel that it's like their home ground and things would happen quickly. So yes, things can happen very quickly in Saudi Arabia if you have the right alignment, if you have the right flow of doing the things in structure, in compliance, right? Then things can move really fast with you. But if you have not done your research and you feel that, I'm just going to come in, launch MISA license and start doing my business. No. There's a lot that you need to really plan to really grow into this country, right? As a business. So the truth is that, Saudi is one of the most, opportunistic market right now, globally, right? But then it rewards enterprises or founders who've done their research properly, who've understood the labor laws, who've understood the compliances, right? Who, plan a lot of things aligning with the national priorities of Saudi Arabia, right? If you've done your homework correctly, right, and you start building relations, you are really committed in being into the country, that's when these enterprises or founders can really find traction, right? It's not that, you're sitting in Australia and then you're doing some sort of a launch here and, with the shuttle team. No, you need to be present in the country. You need to understand the culture. You need to meet with the right people. And when they see your commitment, when they see that you're invested in the country, that's when things open up for you.
Yeah, I think, even if they feel like they did their due diligence and got the information that they needed, maybe they missed some steps.
Yeah.
It's probably beneficial to have somebody to hold your hand and guide you through every step.
Always, right? So that's true for any market for that matter, right?
Yeah.
And it always helps to have the right advisors, right consultants, right lawyers on your side who know the country better than you because you're just entering the market and they can just handhold you, right? So what you could probably do experimenting on your own that could take 10, 11 months, maybe you could fast track to 3 to 6 weeks with the right directions, with the right paperwork, with the right alignment on compliance. That's it.
But at the same time, I see on LinkedIn these firms all over the world that are claiming to help businesses start up in Saudi.
Yeah.
Do all of them know the comprehensive guidelines and frameworks? I'm not sure.
That's an interesting question. So one of the challenges that we face in our market that yes, it's got very competitive, right? And a lot of people claim they know all the regulations, all the compliances. Almost bi-weekly, we get people referred to us who got stuck because of wrong advice given to them, right? Who got some penalty because they didn't realize that they had to fulfill a certain compliance, right? And what I tell, even when we have our meetings with our clients, what we tell them, it's not necessary that you work with us, but then please make sure work with someone who's really lived in Saudi Arabia, who has a local team, a local presence, not some advisory firm outside the country and then just trying to tell you that what's there. No, have foots on the ground. Work with those people because they would really know the systems, the compliances, the paperwork required.
What does a realistic market entry timeline look like?
So a realistic timeline, if you've done the right paperwork, if you've chosen the right activities, you have clarity on what you want to do, what type of license you need, right? It could take, as low as 3 to 6 weeks, which a lot of enterprises don't realize that it's pretty fast when expanding to a new market, right? But it's all about doing the right preparation upfront, number one. Second, the delay that happens is usually in the visa processing because every country has their own rules and regulations in terms of, let's say the medical test, the police verification, the degree verification for the owners or the general managers when they're coming into Saudi Arabia, right? So that's where, additional 2 to 4 weeks gets added, right? But if you really look into it, give or take around 8 to 10 weeks, if done correctly, you're fully operational with your bank account, with your CR, and you're ready to go.
What are the biggest differences between Saudi and Western markets?
Okay, one of the biggest difference that people don't realize is how important is building relations in the country is, right? While Western European businesses feel very transactional, focused on the deal, delivery, right? Saudi adds an entire different dynamic. It's about relationships. Locals, when they understand your intent, when they understand your commitment, when they see that you're in the country, you're already invested in the country, you're spending time to build really meaningful relationship, that's when the doors start opening, right? It's not just transactions, it's not just shiny pitch decks and presentations. No, there's a layer of building trust first before the business comes in.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we were talking about being able to set up within 6 to 8 weeks. But in order to build relationships and build trust and all of that, that takes years. So how does that work for companies coming to Saudi?
So one of the advice that we generally give is even before you start setting up your company, probably spend a couple of months into the country or have some of your team members to be on the ground, right? Meet with the right stakeholders, meet with the right, potential clients, right? Understand their pain points, right? Because human psychology, right? If someone as a client is seeing you, you're coming in from outside, you're invested into the country, you are spending time to understand their problems, right? So by the time you actually do plan to set up, you've already built those building blocks, right? So when you set up there, you can just go back, we've got the CR, if you'd like us to, engage with us, we're ready. And by the time you're already invested in them, they've seen your commitment, they've seen that you are really wanting to enter the market and support the local ecosystem.
So you mentioned in the beginning compliance and costly penalties that you incurred when you started.
Yeah.
So what are the most common mistakes that foreign companies make?
Okay, so some of the most common that people make is, number one, not hiring Saudi talent as soon as they start, right? Which means not meeting the nationalization or the nitakat requirements upfront, right?
Which is required
Which
from
is
the
mandatory.
start.
Which is mandatory, right? You need to hire, local talent as soon as you set up. There used to be a grace period, but now preferred approach is hire, from the beginning, right?
Okay.
And this also shows your commitment to the local market, right? So build it as part of your strategy. The second is not filing your taxes on time. People don't realize that there's something called as withholding tax. If you're sending money abroad outside Saudi Arabia or cross-border transactions, within 30 working days, you need to file that withholding tax. If not, there's a penalty per day, right? So not filing the taxes on time or the corporate income tax. And even if you've done zero business, you still need to do nil filing, which people don't realize. Then not paying the salaries through the wage protection system. So there's a national payroll system that everyone has to use when, giving out salaries for their staff.
So you find that some companies just aren't aware of this, that they have to do it or think it's optional?
So this is the role of advisors actually, right? Or local consultants that are helping these companies to set up, right? If they've engaged with someone to really give them the whole breakdown of all these compliance systems. It's pretty simple. If you really look into the compliance systems, the ministries over here, what they've done is they've, segregated different systems for different tasks to make it easy for everyone, right?
Okay.
So you've got the Mudad platform, which is the national payroll system. All your salaries, everything goes through that, right? You've got Kiva, which is relating to hiring of staff, work contracts, renewals, nationalization rates. It's a dashboard that's very simple, very clear. You get all of those things, right? Then you've got Mukim that is related to visas, exit re-entries, right? Renewals of IDs and permits, right? And then obviously you've got Zatka, which is the tax authority, right?
Okay.
And these systems have been designed to, streamline your business operations. So you don't depend on manual systems or Excel sheets. No. These are well-defined, structured systems. As long as you follow the compliances there, it's very streamlined.
Okay.
Some of the other compliance challenges that we see is not renewing the residency permit of your staff on time, right? So if you delay, there's a penalty there, right? Not having the right activity in your license, right? That's a big one, right? People, when they come in, probably, especially those who've not really planned it well, they might come in with a certain activity and then, probably they ended up opening a cafe or a restaurant, right? But then it was consulting and advisory as part of their activity. So having the right activity is very critical.
Okay.
Not renewing or having the office lease, the ijar or the contract, renewed every year. Not updating your data every year on the Ministry of Commerce portal or the Saudi Business Center. Not complying with the e-invoicing, which is basically Zatkar's mandate for companies to do e-invoicing or use applications that are integrated with the tax authorities, right? So these are some of the most common challenges that most enterprises or founders face and end up getting penalties.
Okay. There's a lot of them.
It's just me.
Nobody hands you a list?
We do.
Oh, you do.
We do. That because that's what it's navigate, right? We want to make sure that we hand over. There's a whole compliance email that we send separately once the project is done. That okay, you know what? These are the compliances that you need to keep in mind. These are the expiry dates for your for your Iqama, for your exit re-entry. A lot of times we've got people stuck at the airport, calling us that, a reference to friends that, my friend is stuck at the airport. I'm like, what happened is like, they forgot to renew their exit entry. I'm like, okay, just ask their staff or the advisor to just renew it. And they're like, no, we can't reach them, right? So make sure, this is the first thing that we do when we start up setting up companies is we prepare a Google Sheet of all the logins and passwords for the companies that are coming in. Because something, happens to us, you don't want to lose track of your systems,
right?
And most importantly, what we do is we ask them to create a separate email ID, just focus on Saudi systems.
Okay.
So this way you don't miss out on any important communication, right? You get all the right alerts on time. This is the first thing that companies or founders coming into the country is to have control on the ministry systems. If not, you end up being stuck at the airport. Your Iqama is not renewing. You're not able to see the dashboard, whether you're missing out on compliances. This is something that's very important to keep in mind.
Okay, so you give them the login sheet.
Yeah.
Are all of these platforms available in English?
Yes, almost all of them. Except for the Zatka platform, certain areas, but then majority, all the platforms are in English. Some of them are in more languages as well.
Are
Yeah, I think Kiva is in six languages, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so you give them the login information. Do you also put like important dates?
Yep.
Because that's something I was concerned about with all like our license renewals, and everyone has a different date.
yeah.
So how do you manage that? Any advice?
Yeah, so keep a tracker, right? And just, AI has built so many automations through. Just keep a simple Google Sheet, automate reminders to yourself, send it a WhatsApp text or an email or to your calendar, right? Because what happens is many times you might have the MISA license, let's say in June, but your CR came in August or September, so the renewal date is different for them.
Yeah.
Your IQAMA came in at a very different date, right? Your exit reentry that you applied multiple came in at a different date. Your staff IQAMA IDs are at different dates. So keep track of all of these dates, right? It's just a one-time exercise, right? Because almost everything renews in the same sequence every year, unless you've delayed or something, right? So it's one setup, that's it, to keep you compliant and reminded on these important dates.
Yeah, super important.
Yeah.
What red flags should investors watch out for when choosing a local partner?
So the red flags are almost universal when you're entering a new market, right? You try to do local partnerships, and some of them are ask too much equity upfront without really committing on investments or the roadmap, right? So this is universal when you're expanding to a new market.
Okay.
Having said that, having local Saudi partners can add enormous value for your company's growth because they know the market in and out, right? And if you can find the right local partner that fits in, that's a great combination, right? But what my advice for any enterprises, any founders trying to enter the country is, number one, set up independently first. Set up your 100% independent entity first, right? Second, enter the market, map the market, right? Not everyone who's committing that they can give you deals from PIF can actually get you deals from PIF, right? And that goes for any market for that matter. You need to first enter the market, understand the market, meet the stakeholders yourself, right? And then when you decide to have some sort of arrangement or partnership, do it through a JV. This way you're on equal footing. You have your independent entity, and then you set up a separate JV agreement or a JV joint venture entity, where then you define the terms on equal footing with local partners, right? So this sets the stage for on both sides to be equally committed, equally focused on the end goal. So this approach helps both sides to be equally committed on equal footings and build long-term relationships, right? Tangible rather than just on vague commitments.
And is that the advice that's generally given, or do you see a lot of companies come in and do it the other way? They partner on the company and then it goes south.
That is something that's happening a lot, actually, right? So companies don't realize that they can just enter the market 100% on their own, right? Everyone is approachable. The ministries are approachable, the stakeholders, your clients are approachable. It's not that people have, that's the thing, that's what people don't realize is you really need to be in the country to understand how fast paced, how open and welcoming almost every stakeholder is, or every private business or ministries is, right? So people don't realize that, and they end up going through the different path, and then they realize that, oh, it's not working out. But by the time you've already given equity of your company, right? So that goes into a whole different tangent, and which is not easy to sort.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
If someone or a company wants to come in without investing too much capital, just kind of test the market, are there any strategies to do that?
So in Saudi Arabia, testing the market without committing and being present does not really work, right? So what I generally advise is you don't need to really invest very big upfront. There's some ways that you can start very lean, right? Have the local entity set up, have one or two representatives locally stationed for a few months, meeting with your potential clients, meeting with the stakeholders, meeting with ministries. There's so many different programs, run by different ministries over here to support different sectors, whether it's healthcare, whether it's industrial, whether it's sport, so many incentives for investors to come in, right? And then you can only do that if you've, at least your team or the initial members are here meeting with them, right? And then when you see that you've built these relationships, that there is potential traction coming in, that's when, you really invest in growing the team, hiring the BD, the sales, and the whole marketing and stuff, so that's the leanest way that you can enter the Saudi market.
So you mentioned before we started filming about the entity that was helping startups to enter the market, helping with business development before they actually registered their business. They came and they're here, but just in the initial phases.
Yeah, so this was a very interesting model. So we met with a German venture studio, and when they sat down with us and we gave them the whole breakdown of how long the process takes, how much it costs with all the different government fees, right? What they said is most of their startups are at early stage, and if we ask them to set up now, it would really burden their cash flow and everything. So they found a very interesting model. What they said is, okay, we'll register as a venture studio first, and we'll hire independent BDs for these startups in outside, right? And with this, what happens is the startup has, number one, a local representative for them. Legally, you can have MOU agreements and you can represent them in the country, right? We will provide them with the local staff, or they would provide them with BD staff that can go out into the market and try to meet with their potential clients, get some early commitments, right? So even before the startup pays $1, they might already have clients landing in or committing to, starting with them when they come in, right? And even let's say the client comes in, you already have a local representative that can bill it on your behalf, right? So this was a very good model that I felt that a lot of accelerators or incubators should encourage, because we've seen, startups. Yes, Saudi is a very exciting market, no doubt about that.
Super exciting.
Right? Super exciting, right? There's so much happening that sometimes you lose track. But then, especially if you're a young founder at idea stage, you're bootstrap, you're stuck with your cash flow, right? And you really just jump into the market without really proper planning, and things take time, and that's true for any market, right? So you don't want to come in and then burn all your cash flow within the first 3 to 4 months, realizing that, oh, you made a mistake to set up before doing the research in your domain and industry.
And you don't want that stress and desperation,
true,
because
Yeah,
people sense that.
Yeah, and see, there's no rush.
Yeah.
Opportunities are plenty in the country, right? So just plan it out properly.
Do you have any advice for companies navigating Saudization for the first time?
My advice for any enterprise or companies expanding to Saudi Arabia is to treat Saudization as a strategic advantage for yourself, right? Don't hire Saudi talent last moment. Don't hire them just to tick box on the compliance, right? So avoid temporary fixes and build it as part of your strategy to really understand this market, because you'll be surprised the amount of good Saudi talent that's there waiting to be discovered by these enterprises. It's all about looking in the right direction, finding the right talent that aligns with the vision that you have when you're expanding, right? So treat it as a strategic advantage rather than just a checkbox.
Do you have any tips on where to find local talent?
When it comes to finding local talent, right? So Ministry of HRDF has their own portal dedicated to young Saudis that are looking for opportunities. Number one, you've got several training academies like the Wake Academy with scalers that help with finding the right talent based on the requirements that you have, right? And then obviously you have the recruitment agencies and recruitment partners, right? LinkedIn, LinkedIn is pretty solid in the region, right? Maybe you might find a great talent, through LinkedIn itself once you post a job post. So when companies are intentional about hiring the Saudi staff as part of their strategy, as part of their growth, and to bring them on board them as team, that's when they find the right talent. If it's just about meeting the compliance, just fulfill certain requirements, then no, you're not going to find the right talent.
What are the dynamics around hiring Saudi talent that international firms tend to misunderstand?
Many enterprises really underestimate how strong the Saudi talent is in the country, right? We've seen this firsthand through our academy, right? Young graduates coming out, how quickly they're willing to adapt, how quickly they're willing to learn a new skill, right? ladies especially, there's a huge hunger to upskill themselves, to align with the requirements of the workforce. And that's why when you're intentional about hiring your Saudi team members, right, and you've built some sort of element of hand holding, training, giving them the right responsibilities. If you do that right, you'll be surprised how quickly your Saudi staff would end up becoming the backbone of your operations in the country.
And my next question was, have employee expectations shifted in the past 3 or 4 years? So what are employees or talent looking for these days? What's important for them?
Definitely. So employee expectations has definitely evolved in the last 3 to 4 years. Young Saudis are not just looking at the paycheck; they're looking at an overall development, a career path, belonging into the mission of your company. So they want to work with companies that give them the right responsibilities, show them the path of growth for them, right, and invest in their training, invest in upskilling them. So that's what young Saudis are looking at. That, okay, do I have a future here, right? Do I see myself personally growing in different areas of my life while I'm working in this company, right? So it's not just the paycheck anymore. It's the overall growth that these young Saudis can achieve through these enterprises coming in.
And startups or companies coming into Saudi, maybe they don't have the budgets, that the large corporations or the government entities have for training and development. So do you see startups or smaller companies doing anything in particular to, help upskill and help grow and develop their talent, that's cost effective for them also?
So when it comes to hiring of Saudi staff, right, there are several government initiatives that helps you incentivize or helps you subsidize the cost of having your own Saudi team, right? Some of them, like for example, there are programs like Taqat, there are programs like Tamhir, right, where if you apply to them and if you have if you find the right Saudi talent on these platforms, and if you onboard them with some sort of a training map for them, then up to 35 to 50% of their salary is paid by Ministry of Human Resources, right? So the base salary for Saudis is fixed at 4,000 Saudi riyals per month.
Okay.
Plus 20% of social insurance, which is around 800. So 4,800 is something that you need to keep in mind as the minimum. That's minimum wage. That's minimum wage when you hire any Saudi, right? But then if you hire them through these programs, up to 35 to 50% of that is sponsored by the ministry. NTDP has certain programs that if you hire Saudi engineers, right, they sponsor, if I remember the numbers correctly, up around 7 to 15,000 riyals of their salary package, right? So there's a lot of incentives given by different ministries over here to hire Saudi talent.
Do you see a lot of startups taking advantage of these programs?
Most of them, they don't know.
They don't know about it.
They don't know, and they're not advised about it, right? To a point where Munshaat has certain initiatives that it can refund up to 80% of the Ministry of Labor fees that you've paid if you come into the category of a small and medium company. Most people don't know. Most people don't know how to register that certificate for Munshaat. There's so much that you leave on the table if you don't have the right advisors upfront.
Okay, so if I want to learn about these programs available to me as a startup, what's the first stop? Where do I go?
You go to
Who's going to brief me?
You go to Navigate Saudi.
Even if I'm already set up?
Yeah, even if you're already set up. See, majority of these platforms or portals are in English now, right?
Yeah.
So you just need to invest some time or ask some of your team members to invest some time to really understand what's your pain point and what are the solutions in the market for that. And these ChatGPT, Gemini, these are really advanced now. They've already mapped these incentives. Just go and put it out there that give me some incentives for your particular problem that Saudi Arabia offers. At least it'll give you some direction.
Not all companies that start up are success stories. So can you tell us what would cause a company to burn out quickly?
Most of the companies that we've seen or startups for that matter, that we've seen burn out, or I think in the last 3 weeks, I've had more than 4 to 5 startups come in that they want to close their company or close their business, right? And a common problem or trend that I've seen with them is they set up the company, but they were never in the country enough, right? They were still operating from Australia or from US, right? And they didn't really hire the local team, and they just kept, whenever there is events happening, they would just come in, fly out. No, that doesn't work in Saudi Arabia. You need to be invested in the country. You need to spend time in building these relationships, right? So if you try to do it remotely, it's not going to happen.
We know Saudi Arabia is full of opportunities, but are there any specific sectors that you think are underserved or any particular opportunities you can share with us?
Yeah, for sure. So definitely, there's opportunities almost in every sector, every domain that you see, right? Yesterday we had a meeting with the leadership of healthcare at MISA, and some of the stats that I remember is 94% of medical devices is imported into the country. So there's huge gap to, for local manufacturing, for local assembly in these medical devices, right? Sports, anything to do with sports rehabilitation, sports medicines, sports centers, right? That's really in demand, and there's a gap over there. In fact, the best way to really understand the opportunities is to go to Invest Saudi website, click on the opportunities tab. And just yesterday, I was seeing that there are 1,926 opportunities listed on the portal across domains. And these are not just listings, these are proper market entry research PDFs, reports that you can just download.
Wow.
Just go and look.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
I will do that after. What is something about operating in Saudi that people don't grasp until they experience it firsthand?
Most people don't realize that the pace of Saudi Arabia, like how quickly things evolve, how quickly regulations come into place, right? How quickly opportunities open, right? And if you're not present, if you're not part of the ecosystem, you miss the momentum, right? So this is something that we see often people miss out unless they've really a lot of people, delegations that come in, right? Their first comment is, we didn't think it's so massive. We didn't think it's, so much is happening into the country. Right? So that's what people miss out a lot.
I always like to ask about marketing as you are a business owner and you're helping other businesses. Are there any marketing tactics or tips that are working well for you or your businesses currently?
Yeah, so in our case, founder-led branding and marketing has worked really well, right? Because we are in the business of building trust. It's an amana, as we say. It's a trust, a responsibility on us to support these foreign investors, expanding into the country. And when they hear my story as a founder and how Navigate came in, there's so much trust already built because they know that I'm there to support them as a founder, and I've been through these struggles myself, and that has really shaped our entire strategy for Navigate's growth.
So how are you getting the word out about your story, and how do you see other founders that you're working with do their personal branding?
I think, people take personal branding different ways, and they feel that it's too complicated. You need to, have a whole team dedicated. You need to post every day on LinkedIn. No, it's just that, just be natural, right? And if you have a story that connects with the industry that you're already trying to support, then it's a lot more easy. In my case, that was the case. Naturally, it came in, right? So that's where it's a lot more easier for me. But I think almost every industry, people can use founder-led branding to their advantage.
And like you said, you have a great story. Sometimes we think, well, everybody knows what I'm doing because I'm doing it every day, and people must know. But the fact is, people don't know unless you tell them and you share it.
You have to. Yeah, you have to share it with the world, right? So, and I think in our case, we were very blessed that to have our friends, our network, or our early clients became the voice for us, right?
Okay.
Not a lot of people know, but we don't have a sales team.
You don't have an Instagram page.
Yes, I'm almost there, but yeah. So that validates, right? So,
but you have clients from all over the world that we were just discussing.
Yeah, that's
so they're
true.
finding you.
They are, and I think that's because because we've invested early on in building the right trust building the right infrastructure for these enterprises to come in and making sure that they're compliant, making sure they don't get any penalties, being there for them if they're struggling with something. That has really helped us to, spread the word of mouth, right? And a lot of our clients became our affiliates because obviously they have their network that wants to come in, right? So that has really helped us to shape our story.
So where are most of your clients coming from, or how are they finding you? Are they coming through referrals or through your website, LinkedIn?
Yeah, so majority comes through our network of affiliate partners globally. So we've got partners in Silicon Valley, we've got partners in Canada, in Australia, in France, in Africa, right? So we've spread that market in terms of partner networks, right?
And how did you build that partner network?
So
how did you find these?
So most of them, like I said, they were clients that probably referred us to someone, right?
Okay.
And then one thing led to the other thing, right? And then there were probably accelerators or incubators, or during these conferences like BBAN, you've got so many accelerators, incubators coming into the country, and then you meet with them. And then when you give them transparently that, these are the steps, these are the costs involved,
Yeah.
that already builds trust. So they remember you, right?
Yeah. Whether you work with us or work
that's
with
fine,
someone
that's fine.
else,
So
this is what you're looking at.
So the way we navigate Saudi, right? On our first call, right? It's purely educational. It's not even a sale, right? It's just that, okay, you know what? Understand these steps, understand this flow, understand the structure, understand the finances that you need to prepare. Whether you work with us or not, that's fine,
Yeah.
right? And that stays with people. So even if they've not worked with us, they might refer us to someone, right? So that's referral is a big part of that. Second, because I write some blogs on certain topics, especially related to regulations, related to compliances. I think people are finding them very useful because only as a founder, since I've burnt my fingers, I know the pain points that people need to really keep in mind. So blogs have started building some inquiries on the website. And then recently I started mentoring with some accelerators like Orbit, Saudi Biotechnology Accelerator, because we are Misk alumni regularly. We do some webinars for the Misk Launchpad community. That has helped to get some inquiries come in.
Okay, interesting. And are you doing other webinars just as Navigate Saudi?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been planning is in the healthcare sector. So Steve Moore, Welcome Health Ventures, he's one of our partners. So with him, we focus on supporting healthcare companies into the Saudi market, right? And that's where we've had the second meeting with MISA on the healthcare sector to understand the national priorities, understand the KPIs that MISA has, and how we as enablers can support that, right? So we're gathering all the data now, and then we're going to do a series of webinars, starting with healthcare sector, and then we'll expand into more sectors as we get more insights from Ministry of Investment.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So your office is not like a typical consulting firm. There's very Najdi vibes. Can you tell us about the design and decor in your office?
Yeah, that's a question that we get, often asked. So it's again goes back to the whole branding, being intentional with your branding, right? And for me, branding is not just colors or the logo, but it's how you make people feel, right?
Yep.
And especially growing up in Saudi Arabia, playing in the desert sand, the Najdi patterns everywhere, we wanted to give that warmth and showcase people the Saudi hospitality, the Saudi culture in our own little way. And that's where we've designed the walls or the sofa sets in that way. So when someone walks in, they feel that comfort and Saudi hospitality from the get-go.
Well, you're doing a great job. We certainly felt that way. It was very comfortable.
Amazing.
If your best friend was moving to Saudi to start a business and you could only give him one piece of advice, what would it be?
So every foreign enterprise or founders coming into the country brings some transferable skills. So what I advise, or my one advice, would be to make human capability development as part of your core strategy when expanding to Saudi Arabia, right? Invest early in Saudi talent. Have some roadmap of, some training, anything that can help them upskill, right? When you do that, not only it helps you to get cash flow upfront, it builds a lot of credibility. When you go to stakeholders, or let's say, for example, you're reaching out to the telecom operators, and you're in the telecom space, and you tell them that, we've trained, Saudi engineers on so and so forth. That's already, they don't see you as just another vendor. they see you as someone who's really invested their time to uplift the Saudi workforce. And that really changes how you start building relations in the region.
Zohaib, you were born and raised in Saudi. What does the country mean to you personally?
It's home. It always has been. And in a way, I feel very blessed that through our work, through the academy, we're able to upskill Saudi graduates for the job market. And with Navigate Saudi, we're able to support the FDI coming into the country, right? So being born and raised here, this is personal. This is something that makes me to wake up every day to give back to the country that I was raised in.
You're doing a beautiful job.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Zohaib. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the audience?
Come to Saudi and expand in the country. There's so much opportunities that is in the country for almost every domain. And don't delay, because those who start investing early would really gain the benefits over the long-term period, right? And in years to come, if you already entered the market now, you would be in a much better position than people entering probably after 2 years or 3 years, right? And I'm really grateful for having me and being able to share my story and share the story of Navigate Saudi with the audience. Thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. And how can people get in touch with you, with Navigate Saudi? What are the best platforms to reach?
Sure, LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile, and on the website we've got a form to book consultation, and usually you'll find me on the Zoom call, meeting with almost everyone, trying to understand their challenges, and that's the easiest way to book with us. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Zohaib.
Thank you so much.